Guys, welcome to the main event. Are you guys excited? Yes. I'm a little loud. I can hear myself. Can you guys hear me okay? Not at all, right? Guys, we want to welcome you to the main event. We're glad that you're here tonight. I know that the format looks a little different than what we're used to, but we are excited about the future and what God is going to do and the opportunity that we have just to come in and to worship Him and just to spend time in His Word. And so if you have your Bible with you tonight, I want you to turn to 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. I want you just to hold that place. We're going to go there in just a minute. But I want to talk to you guys tonight about something that I feel ties into what it is we've been studying in our small groups, but also something that I feel that we need to really look at as a student ministry, as engaged students. And so tonight I want to talk to you about shed your mask. And so over the past few weeks, many of you have been plugged into small groups. You've been studying a series called Awaken. And inside of this series, we talk about being awakened to who it is that God has created us to be. And to no longer to be dead in this world and to not see the things that God has laid out for us, but to be awakened to what He's called us to be. And so tonight I want to talk to you about shed your mask, because I believe that many times we have these masks that we wear in our life. There's things that we put on and we take off on a daily basis because we're trying to be somebody we're not. And so we're going to go through some masks tonight that I believe that we wear that we need to take off. And we're going to talk about them. And I want to challenge you. I want you to take notes tonight. I want you to look at your life and think, what is it in my life that maybe I'm putting on that I shouldn't be? What is it? What mask am I wearing that's truly hiding who I was meant to be? So the first mask I want to talk to you about tonight is the mask called strength. And so strength is a mask that many of us wear. I have some props for you guys. And so strength is a mask that we wear. For many of us, we put this on to hide weaknesses inside of our life. See, we wear a mask because we don't want people to know areas in our life that maybe we don't have strength. So what we do is we act like we got it all together. Anybody know anybody like that? Anybody? Raise your hand. Somebody who acts like they always have it all together, that everything's going on okay in their life. See, a lot of us, we do that. We act like nothing's ever wrong. We put on this strength. We put on this mask in our life because we don't want people to see that truly on the inside we have some weaknesses that we're dealing with. See, maybe we act like we're the ones who are in charge of the conversation. Maybe we're picking on people. Maybe we're putting people down. We're trying to act like we're the strong ones in the middle of the conversation, when in reality, we're just worried that people are going to see through us to what's really going on. That they're going to see that we really struggle with what they think about us. See, we try to be strong, when in reality, we have weaknesses inside. But see, Christ tells us that our strength cannot be found inside of ourselves. In 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9, it says this. It says, "But He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, and hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong." See, sometimes we want to act like we're strong. We want to act like the things in our life don't bother us. For guys, many times it's hard for us to show emotion because we have this idea in our mind that we have to be the ones who have it all together. We don't want to be weak in front of people. Ladies, it's the same way for you. Many times you feel like in your circle, in your social circle, you don't want to be the one who always has mess going on because you talk about that person. See, you talk about the person who always has a problem, who's always struggling, and you don't want to be that person. So what you do is you put on this mask and you act like you're strong. And what Jesus tells us is He says, that's not the way I intended for you to live life. I didn't intend for you to act like you were strong. I intended for you to be strong. And see, the only way that we can find true strength, the only way that we can have something that's real, that's not fake, that's not a mask, is to put our trust in Him, to admit to the fact that we have a weakness, to admit to the fact that we're not perfect, and that we need help. And it's when we do that, when we admit our weakness and when we come to Christ and we tell Him and we lay it down, that's when we're made strong. So tonight, I wonder how many of you try to wear this mask of strength. You try to act like you have it all together. See, I know many of you, through your stories and the things that you deal with in life, you've went through a lot. And for some of you, you're willing to share that, but for others, you don't want to share that. You want to lock it inside, you want to hold on to it, and you want to put on this strong front that everything's okay. But you need to understand something tonight. If you truly want to have that strength that you're desiring so hard to have, you've got to actually admit that you can't take care of it on your own. You've got to become weak. You've got to lay it at the foot of the cross. You see, when Jesus talks about being a follower of Christ, He says that we are to be servant-minded. The idea of a servant is not to be someone who stands tall, but to be someone who kneels and to be there to serve and to do the things of others. And so when we want to have true strength in Christ, there has to be a breaking moment in our life when we give up that weakness and we admit that we can't do it all and we have to give it to God. But for many of us, that's a difficult thing to do because the world tells us differently. The world tells you you've got to have it all together. The world tells you you need to be strong, that you can overcome by yourself, that if you put the willpower and the thought process into it, that you're going to be able to get over whatever hurdle it is you have in life. But let me tell you something, it doesn't matter how much willpower you have. If you try to do it on your own and you don't trust God with it, you're never going to get over it. You may bypass it, but somewhere later on in life, it's going to creep back up and you're going to find yourself broken and weak again. But God tells us that if we'll admit we're weak now and we'll give it over to Him, He will give us true strength. The second mask that I feel like many of us wear is the mask of social acceptance. See, I tried to come up with a really fancy word for this, but when it boils down to it, this is all it is. We want to be accepted by the people in our life. We want everyone around us to accept us. And so many times we'll put on this mask, and this mask can look like a lot of different things in our life, depending on who we are. This mask could look like a different genre of music than what we really like because no one else thinks that's cool. This mask could look like something that you wear because you want to be popular. It's not even what you like. It's not even your style, but you're just trying to fit in. This mask may be a certain group of friends that it eats you alive, that you even hang out with them because you know the conversation that they're talking about is not anything at all that lifts up God, and it's not something you should do, but you are a part of it because social acceptance is a mask that you wear. But you guys need to know today that we were never called to be accepted by this culture. In fact, in 2 Corinthians 5:17, it says this. It says, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old is gone, and the new is here. This means that we were created to be a new person and a new creature. We weren't made to fit in with the rest of the world. See, this is the problem, guys. We try so hard to fit in with everybody else, and we wonder why we feel broken, upset, and in pain, and constantly fighting ourselves. And the reason is you weren't created to be that way. But we try to put on the mask. We want to be accepted by our peers. We want to be accepted by the people at school, by the people that we work with, by the people in our church. We want to be a certain way, so we put on this mask of social acceptance, all the while bearing who it is that God created and destined for you to be. See, the problem with masks is this. When you start putting them on, you forget which one you have on and which one you took off. And before you know it, you're getting to a place where you don't even know who you are anymore. Because you're sitting there and you're going, oh, was I supposed to wear social acceptance today? Or was I supposed to have strength? I forget. I'm just going to put them both on. And we begin to have these mixed personalities because we don't even know who we are anymore. God says, I never designed for you to be that way. I wasn't worried about you fitting in with the in crowd at your school. I wasn't worried about you being the most popular kid on the block. I wasn't worried about that. You know what I was worried about? You walking in the destiny and the purpose that I have for you. You say, Chris, well, that sounds great, but I don't know. God's purpose and destiny isn't out there. It's not speaking to me in every avenue that I walk down. And these people, their voices are there everywhere I go. How am I supposed to hear the voice of God when I'm surrounded by all the voices? Once again, you have to humble yourself. You have to become broken. And you have to say, God, I am weak in this moment in my life. And I feel like I need to be accepted by these people. And God, I know what your word says, that that's not what you designed me to be. But God, this is how I feel. You want to know something? When we become real and we become honest with God and we just tell him how it is and what we're feeling on the inside, he already knows and he already has a solution. He's just waiting on you to speak it. See, God knows what's on your heart. He knows what's on your mind. He knows what you're fighting with. But he desires intimacy and relationship with you. If you're writing anything down, write that down. God desires intimacy and relationship with you. That's what he wants. He wants a personal relationship. So he wants you to tell him, God, I struggle with being accepted. God, I know it seems crazy. But God, I truly struggle with this. Stop putting on the mask of social acceptance. It's not what God created you for. He created you for so much more. Another mask that many of us wear, this one I see a lot, is anger. See, we wear this mask of anger many times to cover up hurt. See, at some point in our life, something's happened. A parent's walked out. A friend broke our heart. A relationship went bad. Our church family that we thought was so close just turned their back on us when we made a mistake. And so we let that hurt and that pain that we never truly dealt with morph into a mask that we wear, and it's called anger. Anger has some different side effects that you'll see, and depending on the person, it looks a little different. For some people, it can be physical. We can see people get actually angry and start to want to get in fights and want to argue with people and want to do all of these things. And other people, it just comes out as a negative mentality. All of a sudden, this anger reveals itself as insults. It reveals itself as just seeing the negative in every situation. When in reality, all it is it's hurt and pain that has never been dealt with. It's somewhere along the line, we took that and we buried it down on the inside of us. And instead of bringing it to the surface and talking to someone about it or sharing it with God, we decided to pick up a mask instead. Because if we have a mask on, nobody can see the hurt and the pain that we have. So we decide to wear the mask. And we begin to point out the very painful things in our life that hurt us so bad. And we begin to do it to other people. We begin to reflect that onto other people. And all of a sudden, for a temporary instant, we feel better about ourselves. But in reality, all we're doing is hiding that pain and that hurt that's on the inside. See, the Bible tells us in 1 Peter 5:7, it says, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. See, once again, Jesus is like, you don't have to carry that. I know you're hurt. I know there's sadness in your life. I know somebody has wronged you, but you're not designed to carry that. If you notice all of these masks, they tend to stack up on each other. And the reason is one leads to another. And all of a sudden we find ourselves with all of these things that we're carrying in our life. And the answer to it is to lay it down at the feet of Jesus and to say, here. But we don't want to do that. Because we feel like we have to be the one to carry it. We've got to be the one to take care of it. See, we're many times, we have that type A personality mentality of going into something and saying, I've got to be the one to control this. I got to make sure I do my part. When Jesus is just saying, look, just give it to me. It says, cast all your cares on him because he cares for you. Cast it all. Not some of it, not a part of it, all of it. And when we will take that hurt and that sadness and we will give it over to him, it won't turn into this mask of anger, but instead it will turn into peace. See, God said he intended for us to walk in peace, to have peace in our life. But when we try to handle things, many times we find ourselves walking in anger. I want to take a side detour for a second, and I want to challenge you. Many of you in your life, you've seen friends or you've seen people in school who are lashing out in anger. They're getting mad at teachers, they're getting mad at friends, they're getting mad at you. And your immediate response is just to begin to talk negatively about them. Oh, I don't know what's wrong with them today. Oh my goodness, why are they doing that? I want to challenge you for a minute to think inside of your head, what is it that's caused the anger? Because somewhere deep down, there's just hurt that's revealing itself in the only way it knows how. And we have the answer. We know that Jesus is the one who can free them from that bondage. So instead of lashing out and fighting anger with more anger, maybe we need to start fighting love, fighting anger with love. The next mask that many of us wear is the mask of happiness. Some of you look at me, you're like, Chris, why is happiness a mask? Let's be honest. For a lot of us, it is. See, we smile. We act like everything's okay. We make jokes. We pick on things. Always trying to get a laugh. Always trying to make sure people around us are happy. Our goal and our purpose from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed is to try to make people happy. We're trying to be happy. We're trying to put on this face so that everybody will just have a good time. But the reality is we're hiding things. We're hiding sadness. We're hiding stuff that we're really scared to deal with. Because we're afraid if we're honest with those people, they're not going to like us as much as if we just make them laugh. That if we tell them the truth, that if we challenge them in their faith, that if we start living out what it is that God's called us to be, and we're not just always happy, but instead we're challenging people, we're afraid of what's going to happen. And so instead we just cover it up. See, we cover up sadness. We cover up brokenness. We cover up pain that's happened in our life. And we just put on this happy face. Act like everything's okay. When it's not. And you see, at the end of the day, you can take this mask off. And you can lay it to the side. And you go to sleep. And that's the person that God knows. Is the person behind the mask. But you're so scared to just be who you are. And God says, I'm tired of you wearing the mask. See, happiness is an attribute of God. Joy is an attribute of God. See, He's happy. He's joyful. But see, His joy is real. And it's honest. And it's joyful about everything in life. It's being joyful about waking up in the morning. It's being joyful about just having the opportunity to serve God. See, that's true happiness. So if that's you, I'm not talking to you. But many of you, you already know what I'm talking about because you wear this mask on a daily basis. Because you don't want people to see who you really are. In the sadness that you really have. See, we have become professional mask wearers in the church. We do a really good job with it. We even have nice organizers for our masks so that we don't get them mixed up. We make sure we pick the right one out for school on Monday. We make sure we pick the right one out for when we hang out with our friends on Friday. We make sure we put on the right one when we go to church on Sunday. When in reality, God's not asking you to wear a mask. He's asking you to be real. and to be who He created you to be. I've got one more mask I want to talk about tonight, but before I go there, I want to challenge you to start thinking about your life. See, for a lot of you, you're in this place where you've worn so many of these masks that, like I said, you don't even know who you really are anymore. You actually think this is who you are. You can't even remember a time when you didn't wear a mask. All you can seem to remember is what you wore this morning when you put it on. The last mask I want to talk to you about is what I call the Christian mask. Now, this one's pretty controversial. See, this is the mask that we put on to act like we have a relationship with Jesus. See, we wear this one to church. We wear it to youth group. We wear it to hang out with our friends that are Christians. See, we put this mask on only when we need it. When we need prayer for something, we grab this mask and we put it on. But see, a relationship with Christ is not a mask. It's not something that we just put on and we take off. You can't do that. Because a relationship with Christ is a life change. A relationship with Christ is truly coming to a place where you say, I don't want any of those masks. That's not what it's about. I'm going to ask Lindsay just to come play the piano tonight. Worship team, I want you to stay out there. But I want to think about something for just a second with me. The mask that we're wearing, the things that we have in our life that we're putting on, when's it going to stop? You see, I only talked about 5 masks tonight. But for many of you, there are tons of others that you may carry. You may carry a mask of pain and guilt, of things that you put on that you're just trying to hide all of this stuff that's going on in your life. See, so many times we just want to hide. That's all a mask does. A mask, by definition, is something that hides the true identity of the person behind it. And guys, my heart for you tonight is that you understand that God never intended for you to wear a mask. He never intended for you to be somebody you're not. And if you're sitting out there tonight and you're in a place and you just really don't know who you are anymore, you don't know what it is that you originally were created for. Maybe you've been trying. Man, you've been plugging at it. You've been trying to be the Christian that everybody wants you to be. You've been trying to do all of the things that the church people are supposed to do. You've been trying really, really hard to make people happy. Maybe you've been covering things up with anger. Maybe you've just been trying to be that person that everybody wants you to be accepted, to have social acceptance in your life. Maybe that's where you've been. I don't know. But I know that everyone in here, there's something in your life that you try to cover up. And the Bible tells us this. It says that He has called us to be in community and in relationship with each other. See, when they started the early church, they came together, and it tells us that they were in the upper room in Acts chapter 2. It says that they were in the upper room, and they were all in one accord, and they began praying and seeking God. And in that moment, His Spirit fell, and the world was changed. You want to know something they didn't do? They weren't wearing masks. See, nobody walked into that upper room hiding who their identity was. Nobody walked into that place ready to see a move of God, trying to be somebody they weren't. Guys, we have to be real. We have to be honest with each other. We got to stop playing games. We got to stop acting like we got it all together and it's all going to be okay. We've got to be honest with each other and honest with God. Because here's the thing. You may think that you're keeping something from Him. You may think that you've got this mask glued on really well, and he can't tell what's behind it. But he knows. He knows when you cry yourself to sleep at night because you're so fed up with yourself and what you do during the day. He knows when you sit there trying to read your Bible and you can't even get into it because all you do is hear the voices of the enemy telling you you're not good enough. Why do you even think you're doing this? Why do you even think that you can be a follower of Christ because of all the mess that you've done? See, we all have those things in our life. But God says, I want you to give it up. I don't want you to carry that. Everybody stand to your feet tonight.